Hello, listeners. It's Gunter Swoboda here with some exciting news. We're on the lookout for sponsors to join us on our incredible journey with Inspired Change with Gunter. If your organization cares deeply about meaningful conversations around masculinity, self development, and mental health, we'd love to partner with you. Our podcast has a wonderful, dedicated audience committed to personal growth and positive social change. By sponsoring Inspired Change with Gunter, your brand will connect with listeners who truly value thoughtful discussion and support initiatives that promote real transformation. We're incredibly proud to be ranked number 1 in Australia and number 5 in the USA on FeedSpot's top men's mental health podcasts. For more information on how to become a sponsor, please reach out to Miranda Spiegner Sapon, our showrunner and executive producer. We'd love to explore how we can work together to inspire change. Now, thank you for your continued support, and let's keep inspiring change together.
You're listening to Inspire Change, a broadcast that strives to educate, motivate, and empower men to challenge traditions of masculinity. To guide us through the intricacies and intersections of emotions, relationships, and male identity is renowned psychologist, author, and speaker Gunter Swoboda. This is Inspire Change.
Before I begin the actual podcast, I would like to respectfully acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I work. I would also like to pay my respects to their elders past and present. Welcome everybody to another episode of Inspire Change with Gunter. I'm your host.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inspire Change with Gunter. I'm your host. I'm a psychologist, an author, speaker, and most recently a researcher. So I've added a few things to my list of activities. This particular podcast is a little different because I'm actually on holidays for a week to take some well-earned rest and recuperation. So spending that time with family. My grandson just had appendicitis and had his appendix out, so an appendectomy. And so he's not able to do much. So I'm currently out on a walk. It's a beautiful sunny day down here on the south coast of New South Wales. And part of the reason why I'm doing this particular podcast is a bit of a reflection in terms of the importance of taking time out and just not being immersed in whatever activity, even though it's pleasurable. I mean, I love my research and I'm really getting into it, but it also means having my brain constantly switched on. So if I'm puffing a bit, it's mainly because I'm doing quite a good walk along the beach here and just enjoying the sunlight and people driving by on bikes and walking. So it's a quiet spot, which I'm really enjoying. So why is this sort of place really important? Well, the first thing is that for most of us living in any form of city these days, especially in a place like Sydney, it is noticeable that we're overstimulated and overly active. There's very, very little downtime. And one of the consequences of that is that we tend to have difficulty switching off. I mean, as a psychotherapist and a psychologist, one of the biggest things that I see with my clients is they have difficulty either getting to sleep or staying asleep. Now, partly that's because, as I said, inherently they are overstimulated. The system is overusing adrenaline. They're often loaded with cortisol, and they're just struggling to wind down. So on top of that, we have technology that constantly keeps us on mentally as well. So not only are they often watching TV, but they're doom scrolling on their phone. So downtime is not happening. The other part that's really evident is that if you live in a suburb like ours, one of the things that you will find is that there's a lot of work going on around you in the neighborhood. Landscaping, leaf blowing, um, building. And so the noise is persistent. Now, you do, after a while, get used to that noise, but it's there. You know, the brain just registers everything and files it away. That doesn't mean it's a good thing. What it says is that we're consistently inundated with technological noise. It's interesting because, you know, I can listen to the sweeping of a broom with absolutely no reaction, but the moment someone turns on a leaf blower, the bane of my existence, trying to get stuff done with that noise in the background, and even though our place is fairly well insulated to noise, it doesn't help. Now, the other thing I think is really important in terms of taking some time out and with rest and recreation is that whole act of slowing down. You know, not rushing around, not having a schedule of 50 million things to do. And it's one of the things I think that makes places like, um, you know, resorts so attractive because ultimately, in a lot of them, all you're going to get to do is sit around a pool and figure out what your next meal is going to be or what, you know, drink you're going to have. Now, you know, without being a party pooper, too much alcohol is not good for you either, right? It will interfere with your sleep, just like noise does. So the idea of getting away from things and not immersing yourself into just another load of activity is fundamental to well-being. You know, the air is clean here. You know, in the background, there's, you know, the noise of the waves. Occasionally a car goes by. You know, as I'm talking, there's one coming up. Um, but that's few and far between. We don't get that a lot, right? Where we live, it's a fair call to say it's constant. And then if you go out, you're trying to find a parking spot, all those things are stressful. So the contact in getting out into nature, I think, is just absolutely essential. You know, the smell from the trees and the vegetation along the beach is just fundamentally so important. So what else is going on here? Well, it's obviously school holidays, and surprisingly enough, I haven't seen too many kids around, so I'm not sure what they're sort of doing. Now, my grandsons are busy at home. Well, one of them's trapped. He's not allowed to do anything for 3 weeks. And so, you know, there is a little bit of TV, but there's also some Lego building, which is also pretty good for the brain. We've also played some chess. Interesting because my preference would be backgammon. But for some reason, these guys just aren't quite into it. And I'm not sure exactly why. So their call always is, let's play chess. So interestingly enough, with my youngest grandson, I made a rookie error and was resoundingly beaten by him, which was an interesting experience. I did redeem myself in the end. And with my older grandson, we basically got it down to one each. They're pretty good players, and they will get to be even better players as they get older. I can see it in the way that they think. They're quite strategic in their way. So one of the things that reminded me of is when we say kids don't have the capacity to organize themselves well because their brain's not that developed. I have to question that watching these guys, and certainly with my granddaughter too. They they are potentially much deeper in their assessment of things than what we give them credit for. And here's another thing. So when we have a quiet space around us, it gives us the opportunity to really engage with those who are around us, where we're not distracted. As I said, there's a bit of TV, but not a lot. There's certainly no devices. They don't get to play with devices. They've seen me a couple of times on my iPad organising stuff. But overall, not much. We sit, we talk. Had a great conversation with my grandson yesterday and the son, the one who's had his appendix out. And he's traveling pretty well. But that capacity to be in contact with each other, doing things together, certainly as a grandparent, gives you the opportunity to actually pay attention to how they're going. Now, I'm not saying these guys are exceptional, in any way, other than they probably are brighter than the average bear in some respects. But we can do that with every child. And when we as adults sit and spend that time without judgment, with just being there with them, we can see how often we underestimate and undervalue who they are as a person. So I'm really, really thoroughly enjoying this. And it's just a bit of a highlight. There's the other side, which is my wife and I are completely out of our routines and things are not where they are. And, we're pretty active normally in our lifestyle. So there's a little bit of a hole, and that takes a little bit of adjusting. But overall, we're doing pretty well. So this is where I say, get the opportunity, take some time out, and doing so, see if you can inspire some people and give them an opportunity to make contact with nature and the kids around them, their families. And this is me until next time, signing off. Stay inspired and inspire others.
Hello to all our listeners. Last week, we offered our gratitude to our listeners in South Carolina, particularly in Summerville and Charleston, as they have put South Carolina at number 2 in the USA. And this week, we're seeing record numbers in Nashville, placing the state of Tennessee at number 3 on the top 10 global listeners list. Congratulations to both Tennessee and South Carolina. We thank you for being at the top of the list of states that are tuning in and promoting positive social change. This makes you a big part of Gunter's efforts in transforming not only men's lives, but lives in general. I, Devonna Prinzi, the co-executive producer, and our showrunner, Miranda Spigner-Sapone, sincerely thank you and ask that you please take time to like, follow, subscribe, and share, as your efforts make a difference to everyone here at Inspire Change with Gunter. Please remember, if you want to share your story of social change, feel free to reach out to the show directly. Please see the show notes for our contact information. As always, keep inspiring positive social change.
Love to hear from you. And if you're interested, please check out my work on www.gunterswoboda.com or www.goodmengreat.com.
Thank you for listening to Inspire Change, a broadcast that strives to educate, motivate, and empower men to challenge traditions of masculinity. For more information on the Making Good Men Great movement, or for individual or group coaching sessions with Gunter, visit goodmengreat.com.